The dinner rush at the Golden Plate was finally slowing down. Sophia wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand as she cleared another table. Her feet ached in the black service shoes she'd bought second-hand 3 years ago. The restaurant's fancy chandeliers sparkled overhead, a stark contrast to the simple one-bedroom apartment she shared with her daughter across town. "Sophia, VIP section needs service now," her manager called out. Group of tech executives just walked in. Sophia nodded, quickly tidying her hair and straightening her uniform. VIP tables meant better tips, and every dollar counted when you were raising a child alone. As she grabbed fresh menus and headed toward the private dining area, she ran through her mental checklist of bills due this month. Lily needed new school shoes, and the electric bill was higher than usual. The private room was set apart from the main dining area, with dim lighting and plush chairs. 5 men in expensive suits sat around a large table laughing about something. Sophia plastered on her professional smile. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the Golden Plate. May I start you with some drinks?" 4 of the men glanced up briefly, rattling off orders for top-shelf whiskey and imported beer. The 5th man was busy checking his phone. When he finally looked up to order, Sophia's world stopped spinning. Those eyes, deep blue with tiny gold flecks near the pupil. Eyes she'd stared into countless times during late-night study sessions and early morning cuddles. Eyes that belonged to the man who had disappeared from her life 6 years ago when she told him she was pregnant, Adrian Reynolds. Except now he wasn't a struggling college student. According to the magazines and news reports, he was the founder of RainTech, worth billions after developing revolutionary software that major companies couldn't live without. Sophia's hands began to tremble. The notepad she held suddenly felt heavy. Adrian was mid-sentence ordering some fancy cocktail when his voice trailed off. Their eyes locked, and for a moment confusion flickered across his face, quickly replaced by shock. He remembered her. "Is everything all right, miss?" one of the other executives asked, looking between them. Sophia snapped back to reality. "Yes. Sir, I'll be right back with your drinks." She hurried away, heart hammering in her chest. In the safety of the kitchen, she leaned against the wall, trying to steady her breathing. This couldn't be happening. Adrian Reynolds was sitting in her restaurant. The same Adrian who had promised to love her forever. The same Adrian who vanished, without a trace when she needed him most. Images of their past flashed through her mind. Their first meeting in Economics 101. Study dates that turned into real dates. The tiny apartment they dreamed of renting together after graduation. The positive pregnancy test that had made her terrified but hopeful. And then, the devastating silence after she'd told him about the baby. Those drinks won't serve themselves. Her coworker Jin reminded her gently, noticing her distress. "You okay?" Sophia nodded, unable to explain the hurricane of emotions inside her. She prepared the drink order with shaking hands, remembering how she'd called Adrian's number hundreds of times after he disappeared, only to find it disconnected. How she'd dropped out of college when her pregnancy became too difficult to hide. How she'd given birth to Lily with only her elderly neighbor as her support person. Balancing the tray of expensive drinks, Sophia returned to the VIP room. She could feel Adrian watching her as she carefully set each glass down. When she placed his drink last, their fingers brushed. The brief contact sent electricity up her arm. "Thank you," he said quietly, his voice exactly as she remembered. "Sophia." He remembered her name. After abandoning her and their unborn child, he had the nerve to remember her name. Sophia simply nodded and took their food orders, maintaining her professional demeanor despite the storm raging inside. As she turned to leave, she caught Adrian staring at her again, his expression unreadable. Little did he know that the child he had abandoned was waiting at home, with his exact same eyes, doing homework with the babysitter Sophia could barely afford to pay. The mater saw froze when she realized the billionaire was the same man who had abandoned her. Part 2. Painful Memories. The rest of the dinner service felt like a strange dream to Sophia. She moved between tables on autopilot, her mind stuck 6 years in the past. Each time she entered the VIP room, she could feel Adrian's eyes following her, but she avoided looking directly at him. After delivering the main course to Adrian's table, Sophia escaped to the employee bathroom. She splashed cold water on her face and stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her hands were still shaking. "Pull yourself together," she whispered to herself. "It's just one night. You'll never see him again after this." But seeing Adrian had opened a floodgate of memories she'd tried so hard to lock away. She remembered their first real date. Adrian had been so nervous he'd spilled soda on his shirt. They'd walked through the park for hours afterward, talking about everything and nothing. He'd told her about growing up with a cold, demanding father who measured success only in dollars. She'd shared stories of her grandmother who raised her after her parents died. Sophia closed her eyes, remembering how they'd stayed up all night in his dorm room, planning their future. They would finish college, get decent jobs, and save for a small house with a yard. Simple dreams, but they had felt so real, so possible, when they were together. Then came the morning she'd taken the pregnancy test. 2 pink lines that changed everything. She hadn't planned to tell Adrian right away, but when he'd noticed how quiet she was, the truth had spilled out. "I'm pregnant," she'd said, tears in her eyes. His face had gone blank, unreadable. "Are you sure?" 3 tests. All positive. He'd hugged her then, told her they would figure it out together. He'd seemed shocked but not angry. They had talked about options well into the night, and by morning they had decided to keep the baby. Adrian had even suggested they get married after graduation, just a year away. "We can do this," he had said, holding her hand tightly. "I love you, Sophia." Those were the last real words they'd exchanged. The next day, he didn't show up for their shared economics class, or the one after that. His roommate said Adrian had packed up overnight and left no forwarding address. Sophia had called him constantly for days. His phone was disconnected. She'd emailed him. No response. She'd gone to the administration office, only to learn he had withdrawn from the university entirely. He had vanished as if he'd never existed. A knock on the bathroom door jolted Sophia back to the present. "Sophia, you okay in there?" It was Jin again. "Table 12 needs their check, and your VIP guys just ordered dessert." Sophia took a deep breath. "Coming." She fixed her makeup quickly and headed back to work. The past was the past. She had built a life without Adrian. Maybe not the life she dreamed of in college, but a good one. Lily was worth every struggle, every double shift, every night spent studying for her online classes after her daughter was asleep. When Sophia returned to the VIP room with dessert, one of the businessmen was standing up, preparing to leave. "Early flight tomorrow," he explained to the others. "Reynolds will finish the contract details tomorrow." Adrian, Mr. Reynolds now, apparently, nodded and shook the man's hand. As the group shifted to let their colleague out, Sophia placed the dessert plates on the table. A chocolate soufflé slipped slightly from her tray and she fumbled to catch it. The plate crashed to the floor, shattering in the sudden silence. "I'm so sorry," Sophia said immediately, kneeling to pick up the pieces. "It's all right," Adrian said, his voice softer than necessary for the situation. He knelt down beside her, helping gather the broken ceramic. When their eyes met at close range, she saw something unexpected. Guilt. "Please," he said quietly, so only she could hear. "Let me help." But Sophia didn't want his help. Not now. Not after all this time. She quickly collected the broken pieces and hurried away, ignoring his outstretched hand. What right did he have to look guilty now? Where was that guilt when she was 8 months pregnant and alone, working 2 jobs to save for hospital bills? Where was his help when Lily had colic and cried through the night for 3 months straight? Sophia tossed the broken plate in the trash, her chest tight with anger and old pain. But deeper than the anger was a question she couldn't ignore. Why had he really disappeared? Sophia managed to avoid any more direct interaction with Adrian for the rest of the evening. When his group finally requested the check, she had another server deliver it, claiming she needed to clean a spill in the main dining room. It was cowardly, perhaps, but she couldn't face him again. Not tonight. Not when all those old feelings were so raw. As she wiped down tables in the now empty restaurant, Sophia checked her phone. It was almost midnight. The babysitter had sent a text an hour ago saying Lily had fallen asleep right after finishing her homework. At least one thing had gone right today. Sophia. The deep voice behind her made her jump. She turned around slowly, already knowing who she would find. Adrian stood there, his expensive suit jacket draped over one arm, his tie loosened. Without his business associates around, he looked less like a billionaire and more like the boy she'd once loved. "We're closed," she said flatly. "Your friends already paid the bill." "I know." I waited for them to leave. Adrian shifted his weight from one foot to another. "I needed to talk to you." Sophia crossed her arms. "It's been 6 years. A little late for talking, don't you think?" Her sharp tone made him wince. Good. Let him feel a fraction of the pain she'd endured. "Please, just 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." Sophia glanced at the clock. Her bus would arrive in 15 minutes. If she rushed, she could still make it home at a decent hour. 5 minutes, she agreed reluctantly. "I have to catch my bus. I can drive you." "No thanks." 5 minutes. That's it." They stood awkwardly in the empty restaurant. Sophia refused to invite him to sit down. She wasn't going to make this comfortable for him. "You look good," Adrian said finally. "I mean, you look well." Sophia didn't return the compliment, though it would have been true. Success clearly agreed with him. The boyish features she remembered had matured into a handsome face. But his eyes were the same, and that was the problem. Those were the eyes Lily had inherited. "What do you want, Adrian?" He took a deep breath. "I wanted to say I'm sorry for how things ended, for how I disappeared." A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "Disappeared? Is that what we're calling it? You abandoned me. You abandoned us." "Us?" Adrian's brow furrowed for a moment before realization dawned on his face. "You had the baby?" The genuine shock in his voice caught her off guard. "Of course I had the baby. What did you think happened?" "I was told, my father said." Adrian ran a hand through his hair, his composure slipping. "He told me you'd decided to terminate the pregnancy, that you wanted nothing to do with me anymore." Sophia stared at him speechless. That was a lie. She had never said anything like that to anyone. "Your father? What does he have to do with any of this?" Adrian's face darkened. "Everything. He intercepted your calls, your messages. He showed me a letter, supposedly from you, saying you'd made your choice and wanted me out of your life." Sophia felt like the floor was tilting beneath her feet. "There was no letter. I called you hundreds of times. I emailed you every day for weeks. I never got any of those messages. 2 days after you told me about the pregnancy, my father had me on a plane to London, said it was a special opportunity that couldn't wait. Once I was there, he showed me the letter." Adrian's voice cracked slightly. "I was devastated, but I thought I was respecting your wishes by staying away." Sophia leaned against a table for support, her mind racing. Could this actually be true? Had Adrian's father really gone to such lengths to separate them? "So I have a child?" Adrian asked quietly. His face was pale. "A son or a daughter?" Sophia hesitated. This wasn't how she'd imagined Lily's father finding out about her. But the look on Adrian's face wasn't what she'd expected either. There was no calculation there, no attempt to figure out how this might affect him or his wealth. There was only genuine shock, and something that looked strangely like hope. "A daughter," Sophia said finally. "Her name is Lily. She's 5. Adrian's eyes filled with tears. Would you let me meet her?" The restaurant's overhead lights suddenly dimmed, signaling the final closing procedures. Sophia's manager, Jin, appeared from the kitchen. "Sophia, you should head out if you want to catch your bus," Jin said, then noticed Adrian. "Oh, I didn't realize someone was still here." Adrian quickly composed himself, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. Sophia found herself at a crossroads, unsure of what to do next. Please, Adrian said, pulling a business card from his wallet. Take this, it has my personal number. I need to know about her, about Lily. Sophia hesitated, then took the card. I'll think about it. Outside the restaurant, rain had started to fall. Sophia hurried to the bus stop, but she was too late. The last bus pulled away just as she reached the corner. She sighed, calculating how much a taxi would cost and if she could afford it this month. Let me drive you home, said a voice behind her. Adrian stood there with an umbrella, keeping a respectful distance. No strings attached. It's late and it's raining. Sophia wanted to refuse, but she was tired, wet, and the thought of waiting 40 minutes for the next bus was too much. Fine, she agreed. But we're not talking about Lily tonight. I need time to process all this. Adrian nodded and led her to a sleek black car parked nearby. It wasn't the flashy sports car she might have expected from a billionaire, but it was clearly expensive. The driver's window rolled down, revealing an older man. Ms. Martinez will be joining us, Roy, Adrian said. We'll drop her home first. The drive was mostly silent. Sophia gave Roy her address, then stared out the window, watching raindrops race down the glass. Her mind was a jumble of conflicting thoughts. If Adrian was telling the truth, then he hadn't abandoned them willingly. But that didn't erase 6 years of struggle. My father is a controlling man, Adrian said suddenly, breaking the silence. But I never imagined he would go this far. Sophia turned to look at him. Why would he do that? He had my life planned out. The right university, the right career, the right wife from the right family. Adrian's jaw tightened. A pregnant girlfriend from a no-name family wasn't part of his plan, so he just erased me? Us, Adrian corrected softly. He erased us. When they arrived at her apartment building, Sophia felt suddenly self-conscious. The peeling paint and broken security door were a far cry from wherever Adrian must live now. Thank you for the ride, she said, reaching for the door handle. Wait, Adrian said. I know you said no talking about Lily tonight, but can I at least see a picture? Please? Sophia hesitated. Then she pulled out her phone and found her favorite recent photo. Lily at the park, her dark curls blowing in the wind, her blue eyes bright with laughter. Adrian's breath caught as he looked at the picture. She has my mother's smile, he whispered. And my eyes. Sophia put her phone away. I need proof, she said suddenly. Proof that your father did what you said. Otherwise, how can I believe you? Adrian nodded slowly. That's fair. I'll get you proof. He hesitated. There's a cafe on 7th Street, Bella's. Could you meet me there tomorrow at noon? I'll bring what I can find. I work lunch shift tomorrow. Saturday then? Same time? Sophia considered it. I'll try, no promises. Inside her apartment, Sophia paid the babysitter, then checked on Lily. Her daughter slept peacefully, clutching the tattered stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was a baby. Sophia gently brushed a curl from Lily's forehead. All these years she'd told Lily that her father wasn't in their lives because he couldn't be, not because he didn't want to be. It had been easier than admitting he'd chosen to leave. Now, she wondered if she'd been telling the truth all along. Friday dragged by. Sophia was distracted during her shift, nearly mixing up orders twice. That night, after Lily was asleep, she pulled out an old shoebox from the back of her closet. Inside were mementos from her time with Adrian, movie ticket stubs, a pressed flower, photos from happier days. She hadn't looked at these things in years. There was also a small stack of letters, ones she'd written to Adrian after he disappeared, but never knew where to send. They were full of anger, confusion, and eventually, updates about their daughter. She'd kept writing them long after she'd given up hope of him ever reading them. By Saturday morning, Sophia had made her decision. She would meet Adrian, hear him out, and decide then whether to let him into Lily's life. She owed her daughter that much. She dressed carefully in her best jeans and a blue blouse Lily had once said matched her eyes. Then she woke her daughter. We're going to visit Auntie May today, she told Lily. Her neighbor had agreed to babysit on short notice. Can I bring my drawing book? Lily asked, already reaching for her backpack. Of course. Sophia watched her daughter gather her things, struck as always by how much she looked like Adrian. How had she not seen it right away at the restaurant? Soon, she would find out if Lily's father deserved a place in their lives. Bella's cafe was busier than Sophia expected for a Saturday noon. She spotted Adrian right away, sitting at a corner table with a folder in front of him. He was dressed casually in jeans and a simple button-down shirt, a far cry from the power suit he'd worn at the restaurant. It made him look more like the Adrian she had once known. He stood when he saw her, a mixture of relief and nervousness on his face. "You came," he said. "Thank you." Sophia slid into the chair across from him. "I'm here for Lily, not for you." "I understand." Adrian pushed the folder toward her. "This is everything I could find." Sophia opened it carefully. Inside were printed emails, phone records, and, most shocking, a letter on university letterhead dated 6 years ago. It was supposedly from her, telling Adrian she wanted nothing to do with him or the situation. The handwriting was similar to hers, but definitely fake. "My father saved everything," Adrian explained quietly. "He's always been careful to keep evidence he might need later. I found these in his home office files last night." Sophia felt sick as she looked through the documents. Phone logs showing her calls to Adrian's old number, redirected to his father's office, emails she'd sent, printed out but never delivered, notes from Adrian's father to his secretary about handling the pregnant girl problem. "He told me you called once, said you'd taken care of everything and never wanted to see me again," Adrian continued. "I was stupid to believe him, but I was, only 21 and terrified. By the time I started to doubt him, months had passed. I tried to find you, but you'd left the university and no one knew where you'd gone." Sophia looked up from the papers. "I had to drop out. No money, no support, and morning sickness so bad I could barely function." She hadn't meant to sound so bitter, but the memories were still raw. Adrian winced. "I'm so sorry, Sophia. I know, that doesn't fix anything, but I am." He hesitated, then pulled out his phone. "I want to show you something." He turned the screen toward her. On it was a photo of a smiling older woman holding a small child. "That's my mother with my cousins. Daughter," he explained. "Mom has been asking for grandchildren for years. When I told her about Lily last night, she cried." Adrian swallowed hard. "She wants to meet her, but I told her that's entirely up to you." Sophia stared at the woman in the photo. She had the same kind blue eyes as Adrian, as Lily. "Your mother never knew? About me, about the pregnancy?" Adrian shook his head. "My father told her I'd broken up with you because I wanted to focus on my studies. She was in Europe that whole semester, dealing with her own mother's illness. By the time she came back, I was in London." Sophia sipped her coffee, trying to process everything. "So what do you want now, Adrian? You're rich, successful. Your life seems pretty perfect without us in it." "It's not," he said simply. "I built my company, yes. I have money. But I've never had what I really wanted, a family of my own." He leaned forward slightly. "I'm not asking to disrupt your lives. I just want a chance to know my daughter. And to help if you'll let me." Sophia thought of Lily, how she'd started asking more questions about her father lately, how she'd looked at other kids with their dads at the park with quiet longing. "I can't just throw you into her life," Sophia said finally. "It would confuse her." "I understand that. We can go as slowly as you want." Adrian pulled a checkbook from his jacket. "And I want to help financially, too. 6 years of child support for starters." Sophia pushed his hand away. "I don't want your money. It's not my money, it's Lily's. The money she was entitled to all along." He looked determined. "I missed 6 years of her life. I can't get that time back, but I can make sure she has everything she needs going forward." Something in his expression made Sophia pause. There was no pity there, no sense that he was being charitable. Only a father wanting to provide for his child. "Lily's birthday is next month," Sophia said carefully. "She's turning 6. If you're serious about this, maybe you could come." Not as her father yet, just as a friend of mine. We can see how it goes. The hope that lit up Adrian's face was impossible to fake. I'll be there. Whatever you want, however you want to do this. I just want a chance. As they continued talking, Sophia felt something she hadn't expected, a tiny seed of trust beginning to grow again. The weeks leading up to Lily's birthday were a strange dance for Sophia. She and Adrian met several times, for coffee, carefully rebuilding a foundation of trust. He never pushed for more than she was willing to give, and she found herself remembering why she had fallen for him in the first place. His patience, his quiet humor, his thoughtfulness. "Mommy, who's coming to my party?" Lily asked one evening as Sophia braided her hair before bed. "Just Auntie May, your friend Zoe from school, and—" Sophia hesitated. "A friend of mine named Adrian." Lily nodded, unconcerned. She was more excited about the cake Sophia had promised. Chocolate with strawberry filling. The birthday party was small but perfect. Lily twirled in her new purple dress, proudly showing everyone that she was now 6 years old. When the doorbell rang, Sophia felt her heart rate quicken. She opened the door to find Adrian standing there, looking nervous but happy. He held a wrapped gift and a bouquet of daisies. "The flowers are for you," he said quietly. "Thank you for letting me be here." Sophia led him into the apartment where Lily was showing Zoe her collection of rocks. "Lily, this is my friend Adrian," Sophia said, trying to keep her voice steady. Lily looked up with curious eyes, her father's eyes, and smiled politely. "Hello. Would you like to see my rocks? I found the sparkly one at the park." Adrian knelt down to her level, his hands trembling slightly. "I'd love to," he said, his voice thick with emotion. He glanced up at Sophia, who nodded encouragingly as Adrian examined each rock with appropriate wonder and asked thoughtful questions. Sophia slipped into the kitchen where Auntie May was arranging snacks. "That's him, isn't it?" the older woman asked quietly. "The father?" Sophia nodded. "He didn't know about her. His father kept us apart." May squeezed her hand. "I can see it in his eyes when he looks at her. That man already loves your daughter. By the time they brought out the cake, Lily had decided that Adrian was her new favorite grown-up. He knew magic tricks, could draw amazing pictures, and had given her the best present, a real telescope that they could set up on the apartment's small balcony. "The stars are always there, even when we can't see them," he told her as she unwrapped. "Turson, just like people who love us." After Zoe left, Lily insisted on showing Adrian her bedroom with its glow-in-the-dark star stickers on the ceiling. "I put them there myself," she told him proudly. "Mommy held me up high." "They're beautiful," Adrian said, looking around at the small but cheerful room with its second-hand furniture and carefully mended curtains. Sophia could see him taking in the evidence of their modest life, the contrast to his own wealth impossible to miss. Later, when Lily was busy with Auntie May, Adrian pulled Sophia aside. "She's amazing," he said simply. "You've done such an incredible job with her, Sophia." "I did what I had to do," Sophia replied, but she felt a flush of pride at his words. "I've been thinking," Adrian said, his voice dropping lower. "Would you consider letting me help with her education? A college fund, at least. Nothing that changes your lives now, just security for her future." Before Sophia could answer, there was a commotion at the door. A stern-looking older man in an expensive suit stood in the hallway, his cold eyes sweeping the apartment. "So this is where you've been disappearing to," he said to Adrian. "Your assistant said you were meeting with a special client." Adrian's face hardened as he stepped between his father and the rest of the room. "Father, this is neither the time nor place." The older man's gaze moved to Lily, who had appeared behind Auntie May. His expression shifted as he took in her features, the blue eyes, the dimple in her left cheek. "Adrian," his father said, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "What have you done?" Sophia moved quickly to Lily's side, pulling her daughter close. "Mr. Reynolds," she said, her voice surprisingly steady, "I think you should leave. This is a private birthday celebration." The man laughed without humor. "Reynolds," So you know who we are. What is this, some kind of scheme? How much do you want? Adrian stepped forward, his voice cold in a way Sophia had never heard before. That's enough, you've done enough damage. The tension in the room was broken by a small voice. Are you Adrian's daddy? Lily asked, looking up at the older man with innocent curiosity. For once, the powerful Mr. Reynolds seemed at a loss for words. The room fell silent after Lily's innocent question. Mr. Reynolds stared at the little girl, his stern face showing genuine shock for perhaps the first time in his life. Yes, Adrian answered before his father could speak. This is my father, Mr. Reynolds. He bent down to Lily's level. But it's your birthday party, and I think he was just leaving. The older man seemed to recover his composure. I need to speak with you. Now. His tone left no room for argument. Adrian straightened up. Wait in the hallway. I'll be there in a minute. After his father stepped outside, Adrian turned to Sophia. I'm sorry about this. I'll handle it. Sophia nodded, though worry gnawed at her. She had seen the calculating look in the older man's eyes when he looked at Lily. She didn't trust him one bit. Mommy, can I have more cake? Lily asked, unaware of the tension around her. Of course, sweetie. Sophia led her daughter back to the kitchen, while Adrian stepped into the hallway to confront his father. Through the door, she could hear their voices rising. She couldn't make out most of the words, but she caught phrases like family reputation and think about the company. Auntie May took over with Lily, distracting her with birthday games while Sophia inched closer to the door, worry growing with each angry word she overheard. She is my daughter. Adrian's voice rang clear through the door. I've already missed 6 years of her life because of you. I won't miss another day. There was a brief silence. Then the older Mr. Reynolds spoke, in a tone Sophia couldn't hear. Adrian's response was immediate and loud. No. No more manipulation, no more control. I'm 30 years old and I've built the company into what it is today. If you try to interfere with my relationship with my daughter, I will walk away from everything. Everything. The door opened and Adrian walked back in, his face flushed but determined. His father was nowhere to be seen. Is everything okay? Sophia asked quietly. Adrian nodded. It will be. He won't be a problem anymore. They didn't speak about it for the rest of the party, focusing instead on making Lily's birthday special. When it was time for Adrian to leave, Lily gave him a big hug. Will you come back soon? She asked with hopeful eyes. If it's okay with your mom, Adrian replied, looking at Sophia. We'll see, Sophia said, though her tone was softer than before. 6 months passed, bringing changes none of them could have imagined. Adrian became a regular visitor, forming a strong bond with Lily. They started with weekly dinners, then weekend outings to museums, parks, and the zoo. Sophia watched their relationship grow, her heart warming at the sight of them together. Adrian never pushed for more than she was comfortable with, never tried to buy their affection with expensive gifts, though he did set up a college fund for Lily and insisted on helping with her school tuition. She deserves the best education, he said simply. One rainy Sunday afternoon, the three of them sat in Sophia's small living room, building a model rocket kit Adrian had brought over. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, worn out from the excitement. I enrolled in classes, Sophia said quietly, as she carefully painted a small part. To finish my degree. Online mostly, but some evening classes too. Adrian looked up, pleased. Sophia, that's wonderful. Your mother offered to watch Lily on class nights. Sophia had been surprised by how quickly Adrian's mother had embraced them both, her warmth genuine and immediate. Unlike her husband, she had no reservations about welcoming her granddaughter into the family. She loved spending time with Lily. Adrian hesitated. There's something I've been meaning to talk to you about. A business proposal, actually. Sophia raised an eyebrow. A business proposal? You've mentioned wanting to open your own cafe someday. I've been looking at some locations, and there's a perfect little place just 3 blocks from Lily's school. Sophia put down her paintbrush. Adrian, I can't accept that. You wouldn't be accepting anything. It would be an investment, with you, as the majority owner and manager. I've seen how you are at the restaurant, Sophia. You're brilliant at it. She studied his face, looking for signs of pity or charity, but found only genuine respect and something else, something that had been growing between them again these past months. I'll think about it, she said finally. As if sensing she was being discussed, Lily stirred on the couch. She blinked sleepily, looking at Adrian, then Sophia. I had a dream, she mumbled. We were all living in a house with a big tree in the yard, and Adrian was my daddy. Sophia and Adrian exchanged startled looks. Is that something you would want? Sophia asked carefully. For Adrian to be your daddy? Lily nodded, rubbing her eyes. He already feels like my daddy. Adrian's eyes filled with tears. Sophia reached across the table and took his hand. I think, she said softly, it's time we told her the truth. Outside, the rain had stopped and sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow through the window, a new beginning for a family that had almost never been.